Well, hey, how's everybody doing on this Tuesday evening? Let's see. Hi, Heather, whatever. Hello, Tony. Hello, Molson Man. Hiya, Sam. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope I didn't miss anybody, or I see more people that are watching than are chatting, which is fine. No pressure. But I always like to say hi to everybody. I like to be polite, you know. New year, new me. Oh, hey, cement shoes. Oh, what a week already. Like it's only Tuesday, but I feel like a Thursday. Like I'm ready. I'm like, is it Friday yet? And thinking I only have one more day to go. But like, no, there's Wednesday and Thursday. And hey, Lupe, how's it going? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. The weather here is gorgeous. It's been like, it was 85 degrees today. It was great. I put on my shorts, which I am pleased to announce to all of you are significantly less tight than they were before. So, if you want a quick weight loss solution, because literally, you guys, I've changed nothing. I still have all the snacks. Um, well, that's not true. I stopped this. Okay, I stopped snacks Monday. Okay, today's Tuesday, so that can't be like accredited. I can't accredit the lack of snacks the last 2 days for the shorts being less tight. So it's really the water. Now I'm curious to see what will happen when I stop with the snacks. It's going to be very difficult. I love snacks, but I'm going to try to eat like I also like healthy snacks too. So, I got fruit and it is chorizo there. I love it. I did my toast today. And what else did I do today? That's it. Oh, but I did want to tell you guys something. So, tomorrow night we are going to listen to the dash cam footage from Dawn Stipple's house, and I'm going to go live a little bit earlier, which I know is gonna like some of you guys are not going to be able to be here, but the reason that I wanted to do that is because our Molson man is going to be on Allegedly with Brittany J's panel and channel tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern, and he is going to cover the Shanda Shearer case. And I know that it is a case that is near and dear to Molson Man's heart. And he is like the Encyclopedia Britannica of that case. And so I wanted to um, go live earlier so that we could be done so that we could all go over there and support Molson Man and cheer him on because I'm very excited to hear him present this case. He and I have we've chatted about it a little bit. And no, Molson Man, she did not, but you would be surprised at the things Jen Lu knows and the things Jen Lu watches. I popped into her chat earlier this morning, and wanted to support her because she's, wanting to do true crime. And, I think that should be supported. So, I wanted to support you. And I didn't want you to know about it because I wanted to announce it tonight so that we could all go over and watch you. Hey, Vincent's missing ear. Who did I miss? I missed somebody coming in. I know I did. Hey, Shamida. Hello, Lupe. Hello, Cement Shoes. Did I miss anybody? I hope not. I like to greet all my familiars. It's my favorite thing to do. Did I say hi, Vincent? It's missing ear. If I didn't, hello. Yeah, he's going to do an Allie 79. There's my girl. Hey, Allie. Um, he's covering the thank you, Shmeda. He's covering the Shandashir case. Mo covered it for us here. She put together a video for us, probably what I feel like it was January. She helped with that, or December, might have been December. So she did a really good job, and she did an excellent job. She had a lot of information from that case that I didn't know about, and she included doctor interviews that the perpetrators gave to Dr. Phil. And so I thought that was fascinating. But Molson Man has been to some of the, he's been to the crime scenes because there were multiple. So, and he is like I said, a Encyclopedia Britannica of knowledge when it comes to the Shandashir case. And I just want us all to go over there and support him because Molson has always supported me. Always, always, always. And do not let the pressure be on. Look, Molson man, for reals. Really, for me to be pressuring anybody as many times as I make mistakes on on my live streams. For example, I leaned on my laptop, and I never think about it because it's the place where if you don't have a mouse hooked up, you do all the things that a mouse does. I never use it because it frustrates me. And I was listening to the music, and I must have leaned on it anyhow. Here comes Shmita in chat talking about Jen. Did you do the pinch and zoom? And I was like, how could I possibly do that? And then I was like, well, I did lean on it. Let me try that. Yeah. So that whole kerfuffle the other day, that was due to accident. Let's see, how can I put this? Zoom and pinch on an accident is what had happened. And it threw me off for like the whole, I don't know, most of the live until until Shmita told me to check for it. So there should be literally zero pressure on you because I'm the last person that should be criticizing anyone. Or how about the time I timed out and I think I might have even hid. I know I definitely timed out 87% of the chat, and I think I timed out like 13% of the chat. How about that time? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. I did. Yes, Sam, rogue elbow on an accident. So, Jen don't judge. I don't judge people. I judge the criminals in the cases we cover, but not the people, because Lord knows I'm a whole heathen. I have rogue elbows. I do things on an accident all the time. I am a mess. And you guys are all patient with me and you laugh at me with me. And I always appreciate that. So, yes, I'm curious about that. I told you guys, remember when I looked up, what is her name? Why is it's on the tip of my tongue? Sid Vicious's Nancy Spungen, her mom, Deborah Spungen, wrote a book, and I was looking for the book. I typed in the title of the book. Before they actually gave me the results for the book, I got 5,100 ads for self-harm. if I needed to talk to somebody, did I want to do a like telehealth check? Here's the nearest psychiatrists. Here's the emergency room closest to me. So it is what it is. Oh my gosh. I want to highlight this. I'm highlighting it. Too late. Just quick. Oh my gosh. I don't have enough boobs to dip into ketchup. I didn't get blessed in that department. But that's okay. I'm good. If I really want them, I could purchase some aftermarket upgrades. I'm kind of getting a little chill. Can you imagine? I'm 43 years old. Wait, 45. Why'd I just minus 2 years? I'm 45 years old. I think that ship is like the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The ship has sailed. It's at the bottom of an ocean now. No. Yeah. It's long gone. So yeah. Um Poor Schmida. So I think what we're going to do is what we have tonight is I don't think I know. I don't know what's wrong with me today. See, can't even talk. Tonight is part 4 of the lead investigator's testimony, and when we left off last night, they had just gotten Ezra to admit that she had unalived Alex on out of self-defense, and she was a little sketchy on the deets. It was a medical miracle how she started out the interview, and she completely couldn't remember. There was just a whole blank spot in the stabby portion of the day. And then once she was confronted about them finding Alex, well, her car and then Alex, then things started to come back to her. And I still am, I'm curious about the sweater or the scarf, because that to me is very interesting. Um, I I wonder what she, oh, jeez, what she did, why that scarf was there. Did she use it to drag him? Did she use it to um, make it appear as if she had? Oh, whoops! I didn't mean to do that. Uh, Appear as if she had tried to help him to stop the bleeding. I don't know what that was about, but yes, Vincent, it was look, she wasn't even really doing anything like overtly, but yet she was still doing the most. You know what I mean? So, hi Amelia. You know, just she was she was just doing the most. Yes, Tony, every time something like um more, what's the word I'm looking for? As more of the scandalous details came out, the more horrified she looked. I noticed that as well. See, and I thought that too, Vincent. I considered that. I wondered, okay, did she maybe use the scarf to cover up her handiwork? But typically, when the victim is known to the perpetrator on a an intimate level. And I'm talking about like this kind of a situation where they did have an actual relationship. Okay. To not like somebody who, say is a stalker, like a legitimate stalker, right? Who, finally snaps and, punishes the unrequited love, right? Usually people who have an intimate relationship like that, who know each other, victim and perpetrator, the face is what gets covered because they don't want to see the person looking at them. So I'm curious about that. And they do bring up that scarf a lot. Okay, I would not, I don't, well, I would not say Chewbacca, more like Ewok, frankly. I like Chewbacca. Wasn't a fan of the Ewoks. Like, I didn't dislike them, but I just found them to be, somewhat unnecessary. And I was like 5 when I went 6 when I went and saw um Return of the Jedi. That was the very first Star Wars movie I ever saw. My dad took me to see it in the movie theater, and I fell in love with Star Wars. Just right that moment. But I didn't like the Ewoks, and I was upset too. I remember talking to my dad in the car afterwards. It was my dad, my mom, and my sister. My mom and my sister had like zero interest in this movie at all, but my dad and I loved it. And so I was talking to my dad about it, and I was like, "Dad, um, you know, there's part of the story, something. How did all this happen?" And he's like, "Oh, Jen, there's 2 more movies." I mean, the first Star Wars came out the year I was born, 1977. So, but after that, then, VCRs were a big thing, and we didn't have one, but you could rent one. We thought we were, I thought we were so cool. So we went down to the movie place where you could rent them, and we rented the VCR or whatever. And my dad showed me the other 2 movies, and then I fell even more in love, and I was extra. But that has nothing to do with Ezra. Sorry, that's just a little tangent that I go off on sometimes with the Star Warses. But yeah, I felt like they brought up that scarf, and I think they brought up that scarf a lot, and I think they brought up that scarf for a reason, and I'm sure that it's going to come into play at some point. So, without further ado, please allow me to start playing we're up to the cross-examination portion of his testimony. So here we go. Oh, it's a little bit long. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, wait, I pushed the wrong thing. And make it at 1.25 because that's never an issue. It just helps. It's like almost 2 hours long. So, and it's they're going to ask redundant questions that drive me bananas. And I'm going to need to know exactly I need to know the whereabouts of this yellow cup. Now I want to know. Now I feel I'm owed, frankly, at this point. I love Star Wars, Vincent's missing here. You have no idea. Maybe when I hit 2,000 subs, I'll cam up for you guys, and I'll show you my Star Wars collection. Like it, I just love Star Wars. All right, here we go.
March 1st, 2018. Can I ask you about that? Okay. You're in a room with Ezra McCandless, right?
That is correct.
Without just general, you were talking to her about the John Hanson investigation, correct?
That is correct.
Near the end of the interview, just to put it in context, I'm going to ask you some things about what you said near the end of the interview, okay?
Okay.
By that time, you had already asked her many, many questions about what happened regarding John Hanson. Agreed?
That's probably correct, yes.
And I'm not going to ask the content, but she gave you her answers about what she says happened. Agreed?
Yes.
You told her, you said these words: flirting doesn't mean that he has the right to have sex with you?
Yes.
You agreed with her that it's not right for him to sleep with her when she was that drunk.
I don't know if those were my exact words.
You agreed with her, correct?
Correct. I did agree with her.
You said that's definitely a possibility of a crime, is him taking advantage of someone in that position, correct?
Yes.
You said to her, it's a very vulnerable situation that you are in.
Sure, I said that, yes.
You told her, I'll do everything I can to help you.
Regarding that case, yes.
And I would imagine regarding any case.
Correct.
And at the end of that, you did what you could to set her up with a crisis worker. Agreed?
Yes.
And I don't know if you knew it then, but you probably know it now. She had already been previously also set up with some crisis workers. Agreed?
At that time, I didn't know that, but
But you do know it now, correct?
I do now, yes.
Yes. And so did you give her brochures?
No, I believe I took her up to the victim witness office, or I gave her directions up to the victim witness office.
You've been here in court for this entire trial, right?
Yes, I have.
You were here when Mr. Vang from your department testified, right?
Yes, I was.
And you've seen some of the, and I think you were here when Investigator Stalker from Dunn County testified, right?
Yes, I was.
And what Mr. Vang talked about regarding victim witness and what Mr. Stalker showed regarding the pictures with those brochures, that's all consistent with the same type of information support that you were providing her with. Agreed?
I was taking her up to the victim witness office where she would meet with an advocate.
I just wanted to pull this up because Vincent's missing ear, you're 100% correct. And that's one of the things that, excuse me, I was talking about last night, because there is a huge piece of this puzzle that is not connecting for me at all, because I cannot understand why Medic Jason Roger, was so concerned that he went and got on his left races, right? I don't know where his laundry was. I guess he left it at the laundromat, but he left the races and biked over to Alex's, which isn't like, incredibly far, but it is a good distance by bike. And not only that, it was cold. Abandoned his plans for the day. He didn't plan to be out there at Alex's house. And not only did he go out to the house, he went in to the house and then was a whole third wheel, because really, when he testified, that's what he testified to, as if it were awkward, like Ezra and Alex both really didn't want him there. And the truth is, they didn't need him there. If he were worried about anything happening, Alex's roommate was there. So they were not alone in the house, which is why they left in the first place. But that's neither here nor there at this point. I mean, it is here, but not there. But anyway, my point is that I don't understand. Something occurred that we've not yet heard about between Jason and Ezra, other than this look of fire in her eyes. Like she's, what I say yesterday, the mother of dragons. Who is she? Daenerys Targaryen? Like, come on. I've gotten plenty of serious looks from people. And let me tell you, I have not gotten on my bike in penguin level weather and biked it over to somebody's house. If I thought it was that deep, I would have just called the cops, to be quite honest with you. That's the truth. I don't, what it is? There is something. At this point, honestly, it could be anything. Their relationship had dysfunction in it. I think that's true of every relationship has a little bit of dysfunction in it. That's just life, because human beings are flawed, and that's the way that it is. But Well, that's an excellent point also, Vincent. She did. Vincent's missing here. I don't know what I don't want to say Vincent's and I don't want to say Vincent. And so now then I'm just like dragging, then I realize what I just said. So then I have to say the whole name. What a mess. See, Molson, man, I'm the last person that should be judgy about anything. For real, for real. So it's just, I just don't, and I was waiting for that testimony from Jason. I was waiting for this. I knew the defense wasn't going to get it out of him, but the state should have. And I was waiting for the state to, other than the look, it just, I don't know, something is very, very disconnected here. Not that, obviously homicide doesn't make sense, right? But Jason's actions that day seem extra and over the top, even for medic Jason Roger. For reals, they do. Because even the guy that Max, that she had been with, they were together and they went to races together. They showed up at races together. And Ezra left to go speak to Alex. And although Max was, I guess, in agreement with Jason that something about Ezra seemed off that day, he didn't go over there. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, hey, nonstop mom. He's just, something's not right, obviously. All right, let's get back to Detective Ryan. Here we go again with the victim situation. Did you give her brochures? First of all, they're not brochures, they're pamphlets. Okay. Brochure means something different. You give brochures, like Florida. The Florida's gives you a brochure because it's a vacation destination, right? Pamphlets are for public information. Mr. Nelson. All right, here we go.
Yeah, it's consistent with all of that information that had been previously provided, right?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. After March 1st, you continued to investigate the matter between Ezra McCandless and John Hanson. Is that right?
That is correct.
I'm done with you, Allie 79.
At least three
but
men,
no, I love
agreed? You interviewed at least 2 men, agreed? That's a poor question because I think you're struggling for time. Let me frame it in a time.
Okay.
In March of 2018, you interviewed 2 men regarding that, agreed?
I believe so, yes.
And then at some point in 2019, in August, you interviewed a 3rd man about that.
That is correct.
Okay. So now I want to fast forward to March 23rd in that first interview that we heard yesterday, okay?
Okay.
During that interview, you were at that point considering her as a victim of potential sexual assault, right? Or at least an attempted assault.
Yes.
And during that interview, she told you about her journaling.
That is correct.
She says, I've been journaling a lot. Is that right?
I don't have the exact transcript in front of me to follow along. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We have a copy of that. It's been marked as Exhibit 176. Is that the transcript of your interview of Ms. McCandless on March 23rd, 2018?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
That was the interview that we listened to yesterday. Is that right?
It appears to be a yes.
Okay. On line 81, if you want to follow along.
Yes, please.
What page, counsel?
I don't have page. There are just lines on the whole thing. Are you able to follow along, Mr. Brock?
Is mine the same as your? I have page 2 written on the bottom of mine.
On line 81, are there lines on the left side of the page? Regardless of the page, there's lines, correct?
Yes,
And they go in numerical order from 1 to up into the hundreds, correct?
that is correct.
So on line 81,
Is blank on my copy.
Okay.
Oh, 181 or 81?
87 perhaps. I can't read my own writing. My apologies.
Okay. 87 does have the word journaling on it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that. She says on 87, I've been journaling a lot, right?
Yes, she does.
She then on 120 says, I'm feeling really good today and really confident. Is that right?
Yes.
You were asking her essentially in the beginning, like, why did she go to Alex's, right? That's part of what you were trying to figure out in the interview. I'm not, just in general, one of the things you were trying to figure out is why did she go to Alex's, right?
And there was a lot of things we were trying to figure out during this interview.
But one of the things you were trying to figure out is why she went to Alex's. Agreed?
I don't know if that was specifically one of them on this one, but it may have came up along the way.
You were asking her about what she did that day.
Yes,
You were asking her to go chronologically through what she did that day.
I believe I did in this. I know I did in the second one, asked chronologically. I just asked her what she did this day.
And you asked again on March 23rd to go along chronologically, and she gave you answers, right?
She did answer my questions. I can't say I used the word chronologically in this interview.
I'm not saying you used the word chronologically, sir. I'm saying you asked her questions about what she did on March 22nd when you spoke with her on March 23rd.
That is correct.
Are we on the same page?
I think so.
I'm not literally, figuratively. You with me?
I'm here.
Okay. And she told you, again, she was feeling on line 120, she was feeling really good today and really confident.
Yes,
She told you on line 121, she says, I should go return some stuff that just kind of makes me feel sad, right?
yes,
And in your investigation, you learned that she did, in fact, write a journal. Is that right?
I did end up learning that. Yes,
In fact, she never hid that from you. She told you she was journaling. Agreed?
agreed,
She told you on the 23rd and on the 24th. Agreed?
agreed.
And you saw the journal when it had been told. You've read it in the past, right?
I have.
And at least one of them ends with her phrase, I am worth it.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what it ends with.
Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 365. So can I just show it up here for everybody? Is that
Yes. You may.
Exhibit 3? Exhibit 365. You see that sticker? It's upside down.
Yes, sir.
That's the journal that we've been calling titled Silence Broken. Is that right?
That is correct.
And at the last line of that, essentially, she says, I can become Ezra McCandless again. I am worth it. Is that right?
That is correct.
And then on Exhibit 366, that's another one of her journals, right?
Can you slide it down so I can see the top, please? Thank you. Yes,
And that's the one that we've been referencing as Journal 2. Agreed?
agreed.
And at the end of that, she says, I know I can be human. I know I can be free. I know I can love. I know I can only strive to never do this again. Agreed?
Agreed.
And she tells you, you learned through your investigation that that she told other people she was going there to give this journal to Alex. Is that right? You learned through your investigation that she has told other people she was going there to give this journal to Alex.
Yes, I believe we did, yes.
Yeah. You learned that from Jason Mengel. Agreed?
Yes.
You learned that from Max Martinson. Agreed?
I don't remember if that's what Max said or not.
You learned it from Julia Post. Agreed?
I don't remember on Julia Post, I'm sorry.
You remember that Ezra McCandless was talking about these journals to several people. Agreed?
I do remember that, yes.
And in fact, she at one point, I believe in the Instagram accounts, had a conversation about this with Jason Mengel. Is that right?
There were a lot of conversations in the Instagram account.
And that's a very fair answer, sir. Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 465. Is this it's been previously marked and admitted. Does this appear to be particular pages of an Instagram business record regarding Ms. McCandless's Instagram account?
Yes, it is.
You were here in court the other day when I believe it was Attorney Hahn went through this 5-page document with Jason Mengel when he was on the stand.
Yes, I was.
Okay. And so I just want to hit some of the high points here to one of the messages from 983 is Ms. McCandless writing, Tuesday I plan on coming to town and doing an airing before I meet up with you.
Yes, that is from her.
And she essentially invites Jason to be along with her, right?
Yes, she does.
And Jason asks basically, well, what's the errand, correct?
Can I just use that your finger? Yep, I just want to make sure that. Yep, that was from Jason.
What page are we on, council?
I've now moved to page 982, starting from the bottom going up.
Okay.
And she then mentions she wants to return stuff to Alex, right?
She does.
And she says to be done with that negativity, correct?
And to be done with negativity, yes.
It's her and Jason text back and forth for several pages until they get to page 979, where they're talking about the material that that Alex had of hers and the significance of it. Would that be a fair summary?
I believe they're talking about the little prints.
Correct.
Okay.
And then at some point, Jason eventually responds to her and says, well, I don't have to be there for all of this, correct?
Yes, it is from Jason.
And then Ezra says, well, I kind of want you to be there, but that's selfish, correct?
Yes.
And then Jason says, I don't want anything to do with him. Agreed?
Can you slide your finger,
Sure,
please? Sorry. Yes, that is from Jason.
All right. And then she says, I can do it alone. Agreed?
That is from her, yes.
Okay. And then you learn in your investigation that she does in fact go there alone, correct?
Yes, on March 22nd.
And in your March 23rd interview with you, she talks to you about taking, line 131, I could take a step for myself to be confident. Is that right?
It says I could take a step for myself to be inaudible, you know.
Do you recall from listening to it yesterday that the inaudible part was her words confident?
I don't.
On 121, just before that, she said, I should go return some stuff that it just kind of makes me feel sad, right?
Objection asked and answered.
It wasn't asked in
Overruled.
on line 121. Before I was talking about line 131, so if I misspoke, now I'm asking you about 121. Are you with me, Mr.
Yep,
Fox?
I am here. And yes, that is what that line says.
Okay. And again, your investigation confirms that she had stuff and she told other people she wanted to return it to Alex, and then she went there and she gave this stuff to Alex. Is that right?
I can't confirm that she actually brought stuff to give to him.
Okay. You were here in trial when Dave Studing testified, were you not?
I was.
Did you remember him telling you that she had a heating pad with her?
I do remember that.
And that's something that she had told you that she was going to return to him, correct?
That in bookmarks, yes.
So there was some corroboration of that. Agreed?
Agreed.
Fair to say, again, this is broad strokes. I'm
Okay.
going to go through the whole thing on the 23rd. But on the 23rd, she talks to you about what she did. Excuse me, on the 23rd, she's talking about the 22nd, right? Amongst
Yes,
other things.
amongst other things, yes.
And on the what she tells you about the 22nd is she's at her dad's, she drives to Eau Claire, she goes with Max, she eventually goes to Alex's house. Some other details are in there, correct?
Correct.
And through your investigation and through much of this trial, that's been corroborated. Agreed?
Yes.
Through the videos of her driving, videos of her at races, speaking with witnesses, correct?
Correct.
But then when it starts to talk about the time between Alex's and Farmer Sipple's, she doesn't remember. That's what she tells you, right?
Are we talking on the 23rd?
On the 23rd, yes, sir.
Yeah, she does say she doesn't remember.
Okay. She uses different ways to express I don't remember, whether it's fuzzy or dark, but she's repeatedly and consistently saying I don't remember about that time frame between Alex's house and Farmer Sipple's house. Agreed?
Yes.
But what she does tell you on line 361 is all I can feel is the feelings and not like seeing. Correct?
I'm sorry, what line?
Line 361.
Okay.
She tells you all I can feel is the feelings and not like the seeing. Agree?
Yes.
She tells you on line 325, all I can feel is like anxiety and like pain and stuff. Agreed?
What line again, counsel?
325, sir.
Thank you.
I just feel like all I can feel, like anxiety and like pain and stuff.
She says that.
Yes,
On that 23rd interview, I think she mentions to you at least 9 times that she felt scared during that time when we're talking about where she says she doesn't remember. Agreed?
I know she mentioned this word scared 9 times. I don't know if she mentioned she was scared.
Okay. Well, on line 338, she says, I was so scared.
Yes,
On line 354, she says, in describing it almost in a third person manner, it's a feeling like, and then you're scared. Agreed? You could read the whole line for 354 if you would, sir.
what's happening and you're scared. And you just need to keep walking and walking.
And I should say, to put that into context, why don't you read the sentence that you think incorporates the entire statement?
I just remember being really cold and just kind of like, it's kind of like feeling of like, you don't know what's happening and you're scared and you just need to keep walking and walking.
And on line 355, she says, kind of like it felt kind of like a scared animal.
Correct.
And on line 401, she describes when she's at Farmer Sipple's house, that she was like really scared and confused.
Correct.
And on line 410, she says, I just remember being really scared.
Correct.
And then line 547, she talks about a time in the past about what Alex did, the cutting of himself, that really scared her.
Yes, and referring to Alex cutting himself.
And on line 597, she tells you she remembers being really scared and being in a lot of pain, right?
Yes.
And then on line 901, she talks about how I just felt scared. Agreed?
What line? I'm sorry.
901.
Correct.
And previous to that, on both line 601 and 609, she talked about being hurt.
What was the line? I'm sorry.
601.
Yep. Yes, I'm sorry.
And that wasn't the first time that she had told you that she had hurt when she had been with Alex. Agreed? She told you that back on March 1st, didn't she?
I don't remember specifically.
Do you have permission to play a section of that recording?
Well, just a question. I assume that you're going to be going on for quite a while.
If this recording would kind of end that chapter if I'm
Okay.
able to do that.
All right, and I don't have any word yet on lunch, but so go ahead and play that portion if you wish. And is this the March 23rd interview?
I want to play a portion from the March 1st interview that you were asked questions about yesterday. Do you remember what interview I'm talking about, sir?
Yes.
This is not at the Mayo Hospital, but it's at the Eau Claire Police Department. Agreed?
Correct.
This is a couple of days after she had spoken with Investigator Vang about John Hansen. Is that right?
That is correct.
And then you called up, I think, the next day and asked her if she'd be willing to come down, and she cooperated and came down and spoke with you.
That is correct.
And during that conversation, she told you you asked her who else she'd had sex with.
Yes.
And she told you about Alex Woodward, right?
That is correct.
And she told you that during that sex, she was hurt.
I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
Judge, I'm going to play the portion. If I can find it, I'm going to press mute from 12:43:20 to 12:44:20. Just give me
Do we have, is this marked as an exhibit?
no, but I will certainly do so, Your Honor.
All right, and if you talked with the state about this in terms of, I should know, is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so if it is going to be played, we need it to be in some way or another marked or have a thumb drive or
Yes,
disc or something.
I will do that right over the lunch break, Judge.
All right. You just have to make sure that's part of the record.
So it's like an
Statement
hour and
advised
47
that
minutes
will
of
be,
testimony. Well, the
Exhibit
whole
693.
video is an hour and
Press
47
and play at the
minutes.
12:43.
It's really probably like an hour of testimony because they're always monkeying around with the exhibits and flipping pages and, okay, here we go. Sorry.
After me and Jason broke up, after what happened with John, I went over to a friend's house to talk to them about what happened. And I was just hanging out with them and talking to them. And then they wanted to just after they were like, well, you can just forget it if you just, sleep with me. You can just forget all about it. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I guess this is fine.
Okay. Who was that?
That was just someone named Alex. I don't talk to them anymore or anything.
So was it just Alex that you had sex with that night?
Yeah, I just had relations with Alex because
I
he
think
said
that,
he loved me,
hold
that
on just a
he'll take care of
second.
me now. And that
I also think that Chris Watts is busy because I'm sure that he is the welcome wagon for Dodge Correctional, and he's probably welcoming Chazzle Dazzle. So Watts has his hands full. Don't you ladies be writing him. He's busy. Lot of paperwork and a lot of things on his plate.
he's my best friend and I can trust him. And I said, okay, I guess.
Okay.
Even though it hurt. I don't
Pressed pause. Did you hear that, Mr. Prock?
Did
you hear that? Just not anything in particular, but you heard that, right?
Yes.
And at the end, when she was talking about the sex with Alex Woodworth, she said, and it hurt.
Those were the last words that she said before you paused it. Yes.
Okay. And then just briefly, in the beginning of this, she's using pronouns like them and they. Agreed?
I wasn't paying that close attention to that.
Okay. You've spoke with.
Oh, you need me to
Ms.
go back
McCandless
a quick
several
minute
times, have you
to
not?
what?
It's not,
Amelia, tell
you
me
come to
what.
learn that when
Tell me what to go back to, babe. So I'll go back if you need me to. Sorry. So I have to switch back and forth between windows, so I missed seeing that. But as a side note, I am going to be heading up the Googles to look up this trial because I had forgotten about it. And yes, we will cover it because we're at the end of March. And if it's coming in April, then April is right around the corner. And so is the ward. So talking about, just when she starts talking in the room. Okay, I will rewind.
know what happened. And I was just hanging out with them and talking to them. And then
Not
they
enough. Hold on.
Okay, and I'm advised that will be exhibit 693.
pressing play at the 12:43 20-minute mark.
Because he knows all about this.
Okay. Have you had any sexual intercourse with anyone else since this incident?
After me and Jason broke up, after what happened with John, I went over to a friend's house to talk to them about what happened. And I was just hanging out with them and talking to them. And then they wanted to just, after that, they were like, well, you can just forget it if you just, sleep with me. You can just forget all about it. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I guess this is fine.
Okay. Who was that?
That was just someone named Alex. I don't talk to them anymore or anything.
So was it just Alex that you had sex with that night?
Yeah, I just had relations with Alex because he said that he loved me, that he'll take care of me now, and that he's my best friend and I can trust him. And I said, okay, I guess.
Okay.
Even though it hurt.
Okay.
I don't
Pressed pause. Did you hear that, Mr. Brock? Did you hear that? Just not anything in particular, but you heard that, right?
Yes.
And at the end, when she was talking about the sex with Alex Woodworth, she said, and it hurt.
Those were the last words that she said before you paused it. Yes.
Okay. And then just briefly, in the beginning of this, she's using pronouns like them and they. Agreed?
I wasn't paying that close attention to that.
Thank
Okay.
you, Molson
You
man.
spoke with
We're going to
Ms.
keep an
McCandless
eye
several
out.
times, have you not?
I have.
It's not, you come to learn that when she uses the pronouns them and they, she might be referring to a singular person rather than a multiple people.
I have learned that. Yes.
So that she uses it in a sense of a gender neutral pronoun for some people who may prefer gender neutral pronouns, right?
She has been known to do that. Yes.
Those are, I think that ends this chapter, Judge, if we want to break, or I can continue on.
All right, any word on that?
I don't have any word on that.
All right, well, I assume it's going to be here soon unless you've forgotten about us. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break for lunch. And we'll try to keep it basically 1 hour from when we break here. So you'll get a little bit more than 1 hour. So we'll excuse you at this time. All rise.
So while
Very
they're
good.
rising and all this business, do you guys want me to cover the Todd case? I don't know how to say it.
I think
Todd.
there were only really two sidebars that we
Toad.
have to address.
I don't know how to pronounce that
Right
word.
around 9:36, 9:37.
Too many
there was an objection,
consonants
and
in
then
a
it was
row.
withdrawn. That was by Mr. Nelson. And
Well, what do
then,
you think? Should we do
there
it?
was
Would you
another
guys want to watch
objection,
it
and this
over
was
here?
related
Okay.
to, I believe
Okay.
it was Exhibit 692 that eventually was received. It was
Yay.
published to the jury.
We'll totally
The
do it.
objection that
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Nelson made related to that being
Perfect.
speculative
So I
on the
have
part
from
of,
now
or
until
would be
April
speculative on the
14th
part of the witness.
to figure out how to pronounce the name
who those
correctly
messages were sent to or intended for.
repeatedly.
And
Took me a long
the,
time to get
objection,
Mullis down
was
correctly
sustained,
because sometimes I'd say
and
Mullins.
basically because the
Okay, I'm kind of
exhibit has been
annoyed.
received, were considered.
In
Oh, wait.
March 1st and March 23rd. Remember that?
Yes.
So I want to ask you more questions about her statements to you on March 23rd.
Okay.
That's the first time that you met with her regarding the investigation of
Okay, thank you, Molson Man. Tote.
her arrival at Farmer Sipples, correct?
March 23rd is when she arrived at Mr. Sipple's house, yes.
She actually
Okay.
arrived there
On 22nd, correct. Yep.
23rd was the first time you spoke with her about,
I remember
may or may
this.
not have happened
I
on
know
the
now. It's
22nd,
all
the day before
all
you
the synapses
Correct.
just
Okay.
fired.
In
It's
the-
all coming together now.
Exhibit 290,
It's
you
all
have that there in front of
clicking.
you, that's been admitted today. She told you, at some point, again, we talked about how she was talking about her feelings, and I'm not gonna go through that again, but how she talked about how she was scared, right?
Yes.
And then she also was telling you about her feelings regarding what she says Alex, her feelings about Alex or what she thought Alex was doing or feeling. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And on page 14, sorry, actually, the other one, you have the first one.
Yep. That's the 23rd. This is the 24th.
Yeah, so exhibit 176 on page 14.
He's charged with 4 counts of first
Previously
degree
offered
murder
and
and 1
received,
count of animal
is where she
cruelty.
starts talking to you on line
Nonstop, Mom.
597, where she says to you, I just remember being really scared and being in pain. Can you see that?
I can.
Maybe that's better for my old eyes at least. And then you asked her, what were you scared of? Is that right?
That is correct.
And she told you she was essentially scared of being hurt.
That is correct.
And you said by who or what? Agreed?
That is correct.
She said Alex.
That is correct.
That's the Alex that she had been referring to you about before that we'd heard in the tape that we played before the break, correct?
That is correct.
And then you asked, by him doing what? And she responded, by him like harming me and making me want to do something he wanted. Agreed?
Agreed.
And you said, then follow-up question, what do you mean by that? And she said, he's been upset at me a couple of times when I would go over because I was kind of seeing Alex for a little while because I was very confused. And he would kind of get upset when I was too sensitive or in pain and stuff during those interactions. That's what she said to you on the 23rd, correct?
Correct.
And she previously told you on the 21st that, I want to make sure I get it correct, it hurt, something along those lines. Or I'm sorry, she previously told you on March 1st, it hurt in reference to sex with Alex.
I don't remember exactly what it was in reference to, but she said it hurt.
Okay. She also, sorry, I'll take that down. I'm gonna go through just some other
Thank you.
times in the 23rd when she talks to you. She talks about her feelings and she tells you about Alex, what she thought Alex was feeling as well, correct? What she perceived Alex to be feeling.
I believe so.
She told you, I think it is 11 different times that she thought Alex was upset. Is that right?
I believe that is a correct number.
I provided you with some of these listings earlier in the week for you to check the transcript. Is that right?
Yes.
And you had a chance to check that transcript?
Yes.
And it was 11 times that she had said that about Alex during that interview on the 23rd, right?
Correct.
I'm
And,
so sorry, Heather. I hope your
Just
doggy
show you
feels
my sheet,
better. Poor
just to be
puppers.
open with you here. My tally is 8 of those times she was talking about the present occasion, and 3 of those times she was talking about past occasions when Alex was upset. Does that sound about right? I know you're not double checking my work exactly, but again, in general, does that sound about right?
In general.
But what we do know now that listening to the tapes is while she told you her feelings and what Alex was doing, she didn't tell you where the car was, did she?
No, she did not tell me where the vehicle was.
Or she didn't tell you where Alex was, did she?
She did not tell me where Alex was.
But then you came back and spoke with her the next day on the 24th, right?
That is correct.
And eventually, she tells you more information, agreed?
She does.
And then you come to learn that the reason she didn't tell you the stuff before was, as she says, because it was too scary. That's her words to you, right?
That is correct.
So on the 23rd, she's there, she cooperates with you.
She talks to me, yes.
She stayed in the room, right?
Yes,
She answered your questions.
that is correct.
She signed the release.
Yes, she did.
She had previously, back on March 1st, given you her iPod.
That is correct.
You knew on March 23rd that law enforcement already had her iPod a second time, agreed?
I don't think I knew that on March 23rd.
Okay, you've now come to learn that on March 22nd, the police recovered her iPod, correct?
Correct. I didn't know it at March 23rd, but on March 24th, I did know that Dunn County had taken possession of that.
The bottom line is she couldn't give it to you on the 23rd because she'd already given it to the police before, agreed?
The police collected it, yes.
All right. She'd offered up her Google account information when she was speaking with you on the 23rd.
Yes, she did.
You didn't actually collect it until the next day on the 24th, agreed?
Agreed.
But what she didn't do is she didn't tell you about what happened between the time she left Alex's until she got to Dunsipple's when she spoke with you on the 23rd.
Correct.
Now, you're aware that victims of sexual abuse or domestic abuse may be traumatized, agreed?
Agreed.
That they may be confused, agreed?
Agreed.
That the trauma from being a victim may even affect that victim's behavior, agreed?
Yes.
And in fact, you're aware that even secondhand exposure to trauma, like as a law enforcement officer, exposure to other people's trauma could be stressful and require help for that police officer or other person. Agreed?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
The approach on the side, Judge?
All right, go ahead. Sidebar. Right, objection is sustained.
You have some training, I believe is how you've previously said, in how to speak with victims of trauma. Is that right?
Yes.
But you don't have in-depth understanding of the neurobiology of trauma. Agreed?
I do not.
You have not had specific training regarding trauma. Agreed?
In what sense?
Well, have you gone to, well, let me ask you this. You're a member of the Eau Claire Police Department, right?
That is correct.
You're in a detective, I believe, there's investigators and detectives. Is it detectives is the term that the Eau Claire uses?
That is correct.
Are there investigators in Eau Claire?
There is a patrol investigator.
Okay. But what maybe another context thought of as an investigator is in your department called a detective, right?
That is correct.
And I imagine there's a detective sometimes are assigned to particular crimes. Agreed?
Agreed.
So like in the Eau Claire Police Department, you probably have a detective that is specifically assigned to investigating child sex assault cases, right?
Agreed.
And part of the reason that there's a separate particular person to do that is there's specific training that that detective has. Agreed?
They do have some different training, yes.
Some different training than you have, correct?
Yes.
Some training on how in particular to interview children victims of trauma.
Objection, relevance.
Can sustain for the same reason.
So you don't have any particular training on how to deal with trauma victims, do you? You have general training. We understand that. I want to know if you have a specific specialized training that you have attended.
Well, I attended crisis intervention training.
Okay. And that was back in 2014.
I don't remember the exact year it was, but I've continued to be part of the program.
Okay. And is, do you know who Miriam Falk is?
Miriam Falk.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I do not.
You don't, the Wisconsin Department of Justice attorney who does trainings for police in Wisconsin about trauma and how it impacts trauma victims?
I do not.
Did you attend, do you know who Dr. James Hopper is?
Not until this case.
You've since learned about him from this case, correct?
That is correct.
Did you attend his training that he put on for police officers and prosecutors in Racine, Wisconsin this year or last year in 2018?
I did not.
Other than what you've called the crisis intervention training, do you have anything in particular, any other specialized training in dealing with trauma?
other than experience and just in general in work.
But I'm asking about training, not experience, right?
Other than that, no.
Because there's a difference between experience and training. You agree, correct?
Sure. There is.
Somebody could have lots of experience, but if they don't, I'm not implying this on you, this is general, but if they're not doing it correctly, the fact that they just keep doing it over and over and over doesn't make their experience any more valuable. You'd agree with that, correct?
Correct.
So, but training is a large part of that, agreed?
A large part of.
A large part of making sure that somebody is successful and when they go out and they collect their experiences and doing the jobs that they're signed up to do.
If it's good training, yes.
So the training that you have based on trauma, would you agree? Let me ask you this then, I guess. Would you agree that if do you have any, I'm going to back up a second. Do you have any training regarding forensic experiential trauma interviews?
No.
And have you heard the acronym FETI, F-E-T-I, for forensic experiential trauma interviews before?
No.
Would you agree that you have any training on using a trauma-informed interview approach? Other than the crisis intervention, did they use a specific methodology called trauma-informed interview approach?
I don't remember.
Did you, when you went to this crisis intervention, did you learn a new methodology in dealing with trauma, or did you learn some helpful techniques in how to interview people?
There's a lot of techniques.
Okay, but it wasn't necessarily an entire different methodology than what you've already been doing. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right. Do you know that, are you familiar with the, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. So when you met with her on the 23rd, fair to say that you didn't tell her that she had a choice to meet with you on that day. Agreed?
I would disagree on that.
Okay. Where in the interview does it say that you gave her a choice? On the 23rd, not the 24th. I understand things changed on the 24th.
It was done before we even made contact with her, based on the unit at Mayo.
I'm not asking about other people, sir. I'm asking about your contact with her, okay? You had contact with her on the 23rd, correct?
That is correct.
All of the contact that you had with this person here, Ezra McCandless, was on the recording that we heard, correct?
I guess I can't answer that completely with a yes or no. There's an explanation to it.
There's facts, and I'm asking you, you're a police officer, correct?
That is correct.
You're here to give facts, right?
That is correct.
And the facts that you normally have are observations that you make with your eyes, right?
Correct.
Things you hear, agree?
Correct.
Things that you smell,
Correct.
things that you touch,
Correct.
and things that you taste.
Correct.
It's basically the 5 senses, correct?
Correct.
You go out and collect information, correct?
Correct.
And then you bring it to either a boss in your office or a prosecutor in the state, or to a jury in a trial, or to a judge in a case. Agreed?
Agreed.
You go out, gather facts, and bring them here to tell us the facts, right?
Correct.
You're not an opinion witness. Agreed?
No. No.
Do you agree that you're not here to give opinions?
Correct.
Okay, so you agree that you're not an opinion witness in that sense. Agreed?
Correct.
So I want to ask you some facts about March 23rd.
Okay.
The conversations that you had with Ezra McCandless, when you spoke with her, it was all on that recording. Agreed?
Yes.
When you had, and everything on that recording is in the transcript that's been marked as exhibit number 176. Agreed?
Agreed.
So you would agree that in the transcript and on the recording, at no time do you say the words to Ezra McCandless, giving her a choice to be there or not to be there. Agreed?
Agreed.
And at no time during there do you tell her that she can wait and talk sometime in the future.
Agreed.
At no time do you tell her that she doesn't need to answer your questions. Agreed?
Agreed. She was a victim at this point.
Again, I appreciate that you want to explain why you didn't do things, but I'm just asking you facts right now. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So you agree you did not tell her that she didn't have to answer questions. Agreed?
Agreed.
You were here when Mr. Vang testified, right?
Yes.
You watched the video of a portion of Mr. Vang's interview of Ms. McCandless in court here, correct?
Correct.
You heard Mr. Vang give her options of not having to speak, correct?
Correct.
Not answering questions, correct?
Correct.
Of leaving at any time, correct?
Correct.
And certainly back on February 26th, when Mr. Vang met with Ms. McCandless about this other matter, she wasn't a suspect then, agreed?
That is
She was a victim then, correct?
correct.
So now back to you on March 23rd, when you talked with her, you, just to kind of sum up, I can't remember where I left off in here. You didn't tell her she could leave. You didn't tell her she could refuse to answer questions. You didn't tell her she could wait and talk later. You didn't tell her she had a choice. Agreed?
Correct.
Okay. Yet she cooperated with you, right?
Correct.
Okay. After you met with Ms. McCandless on the 23rd, you went back, and that's when you found a car, and you found Mr. Woodworth in the back of the car. Is that right?
Yes.
And then the next day, on the 24th, you then come back and you speak with Ms. McCandless again, right?
That is correct.
At that point, fair to say that things had changed, right?
Yes.
There was now a death investigation that was going on, agreed?
Agreed.
You were wanting to find out what happened that led to Mr. Woodworth being in the backseat of that car deceased, right?
Correct.
When you first met with her on the 24th, you then told her some things you hadn't told her on the 23rd, agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah, you told her she could leave when you spoke with her on the 24th, right? Again, I think that's a general comment, but we can
Yep.
get to the particular if you want. I think
No, that's fine. I agree. I told her that she'd be able to leave anytime she'd like.
I think what you said is you're in a locked facility for your safety to get you the help we both think you need, but that door, it's not locked, we'll end it, we'll walk out, correct? I apologize, that's lines 17, 18, and 19 on page 1.
That is correct.
Okay. When you first talked with her that time, you didn't immediately tell her about your findings, did you?
No.
You spoke with her for, again, I'm going off my memory, so correct me if I'm wrong, about 45 minutes or so before you told her about your finding of the car. Agreed?
Agreed.
And when you first did that, I think how you'd mentioned it is you used the word, so we honestly, on line 1705, you'd taken a break. You said, excuse me for a second on page 38.
Thank you.
I believe the words you said. So we honestly went out and found Don. Is that right?
1705. Yes.
You'd chosen to use the word, at that point, 45 minutes into the conversation, the word honestly, right?
I guess so.
You hadn't, not saying you had deceived her, I don't mean to imply that in any way, but you hadn't shared with her everything you knew when you first met with her that day, right?
No.
Okay. And then when you met with her on the 24th, she continued to tell you, at least in that first 45 minutes, that framework there, basically she didn't remember, just like she had the day before, agreed?
Correct.
This is broad strokes. I understand that we have this, we're talking very broad strokes. Are you with me?
Okay.
What you talked to her about in that first 45 minutes that you hadn't talked to her about before is the word boy in her arm, right?
Can you repeat that?
What you talked to her about on the 24th.
Yep.
That you hadn't talked to her about on the 23rd is the word boy written in her arm.
Correct. It came up on the 24th.
Yeah, you didn't ask her about that the day before, for whatever reason. You didn't ask her about that, right?
No.
You then asked her about it on the 24th, is that right?
That is correct.
And that's when she told you what later in the interview you turned out to be, you realized was a lie, but she told you that Alex had done that, right?
That is correct.
And then she later, by the end of that interview, after you, for lack of a better term, maybe confronted her, she told you, yes, she had done boy on her own arm. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. When you spoke with her about finding the car, I want to make sure we get this right. It doesn't take long after you're telling her that you found the car where she says, yep, I was scared. And again, broad strokes. I stabbed Alex, right?
I can tell you a time on how long it was.
On page 39 at line 1754 and 1758, probably very soon after she said to you, I remember being really scared and a lot of pain on those two lines. Is that right?
That is correct.
And then at the bottom of that page is when you're like, what happened to Alex, right?
Yes, I did ask her what happened to Alex.
Yeah, and I think you would at that point kind of
It is
Tell me if I'm wrong,
terrible
but
penmanship. I'm glad we
it
don't
was
have
kind
to
of in a
read her journals,
soft confrontational mode, right?
which aren't
You're
really
kind of like,
written.
"Look, Ezra,
They're
we've talked to you.
typed. Never mind.
What happened to Alex?"
I think it was more of just trying to figure out what happened. I wasn't trying to confront anybody.
Okay, and
I
that's
was
fair.
just trying to get facts.
And that's fair. And that's what you were doing. You were trying to get facts, right?
Correct.
Because previously she hadn't given you facts, right?
That is correct.
She said, "I don't remember."
That is correct.
And then once you told her about that, she started to give you the facts about what she says happened, right?
She gave us,
I guess,
She
Your
gave you
Honor, I'm going to
facts.
object to the characterization of it as being facts. She started to tell him what she claims happened, but to say they're facts, I think is a mischaracterization.
Well,
Just, it seems a bit argumentative, Mr. Nelson.
when I mean the word facts, I'm not saying that whether those are facts that are truthful or not is up to the jury to decide. We all agree on that. Are you with me?
the jury will decide yes.
Okay. And so I mean it more in the sense of she's telling you what happened, what she saw, what she heard, what she smelled, what she tasted, what she felt back on that muddy road. I don't mean to imply whether they're true or not. Okay?
Okay.
And so I want to be fair to everybody. It's just a simpler way you would use the word fact for us to talk about this. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And in response to that, she told you right away on page 40, the top line, "I got him off me," right?
That is correct.
And then her next words were, "It was just really painful." Is that right?
That is correct.
And then from there, she kind of starts sharing more and more and more over the next half hour with you about what happened.
Yeah, she told me her story.
Yeah, it was painful for
And-
Alex.
Well, she's telling you her story. You're trying to gather facts, right?
Trying to gather information on what took place.
Correct. You're asking questions, she's giving answers, right?
Yes.
It's not a free-flowing narrative that Ezra McCandless is just providing to you, right? She's answering your questions.
Yes.
You're not and again, I don't mean this to imply critical. I'm just trying to get facts. You didn't ask, like, tell me in your own words everything that happened, just a big open book, did you?
I don't think I used those words, no.
You were not, I don't mean in a critical sense, but you were asking specific questions, looking for specific answers. Is that right?
Well, I asked what happened.
Yep.
And what happened next
And then when she would tell you things, you'd follow up with questions. Is that right?
to get more detail and more information.
Sure. Are you aware through your training that somebody who suffered from a traumatic event sometimes doesn't have all of those details?
I believe that, yes.
Are you aware in your training that somebody who suffered from a traumatic event sometimes doesn't remember the sequencing of events?
I believe I've heard that before, yes.
And some of your questioning, now I'm switching to that last half hour on the 24th, okay?
Okay.
And so in that last half hour, you were asking her questions about sequencing of events. Would you agree?
Yes.
And sometimes when she was giving you answers about that, she would preface it with the phrase, "I think." Do you remember that?
I don't.
My transcript is all out of order, so I apologize. I'm going to put it in order.
No, but I have watched a trial where the witness answered, frankly, that's none of your business.
Well, on page
It's not
45,
me
on
laughing
line
at my
2020,
joke. That's me laughing at the situation.
you started asking her about where she ended up stabbed.
That's me laughing at my
that right?
joke.
Yes, I asked her if she remembered where she stabbed him.
And her initial answer to you was, "I don't really fully know," because it was just anything and everywhere. Is that right?
That is correct.
And then you asked some more follow-up questions. Is that right? And on line 2028, she responded, "I don't know." Agreed? On line 2028, she says the words, "I don't know." You agree?
Correct. I'm just trying to read what that's following up to.
And then if you're asking some questions, I think, in broad strokes, 46 through 47 about kind of where this occurred. Was it in the backseat? Was it outside?
I'm reasonably sure that the
And then on
objection
page
would be for
47,
me.
At line 2119.
The witness is
You
argumentative.
asked, how did he get back inside the car? Is that right?
That would
You
be
said
me.
2119?
Yes.
Because I would be arguing right here. Well, it doesn't say
2117 is where I have
anything.
him.
It reads.
We're asking that.
2119, her response is,
Yep.
"I don't know." Agreed?
Correct.
And then you followed up with, where do you think you stabbed him? Is that right?
Correct.
And then her next words are, I think. Agreed?
I could break you,
Correct.
And then
Allie.
on 2129, she says, I think.
Just kidding.
Agreed?
I wouldn't even try.
Correct.
And then on 2139, she says, I think. Agreed?
Correct.
And on 2148, she says, I think. Agreed?
Correct.
And on 2156, she says, I think. Agreed?
Correct.
And on 2156, she's, did I just do that one? I'm going to move on because I think I did. On 2165, she says, I might have. Agreed?
Correct.
Oh my God.
And on
Objection.
2169, she says,
Relevance.
I think so. Agreed?
Correct.
2183, I think. Agreed?
Correct.
2188, I think. Agreed?
Correct.
And again, if you go to the next page on 49, I don't want to say every time, but she starts most all of her sentences with the phrase, I think. Is that fair?
That is fair.
And then it continues on to again on page 50 where she says it again, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, at least on that page. Is that right?
That is correct.
And then on 2290, you'd asked, do you remember when you stabbed him in the throat? And she says at 2290, no, I don't.
Oh
I
my
just remember it
gosh.
happening, but I don't remember the time or when. Is that right?
Sorry. I have this game separated. You said, what was it?
It's all right.
2290, you said?
2290, her
Okay.
response, you had previously asked her question, do you remember when you stabbed him in the throat? And her response was, no, I don't. I just remember it happening, but I don't
Just
remember
blame
the
me.
time
It's
or
fine,
when.
Kez
Agreed?
chick.
Agreed.
It's fine.
And then on page 56,
Just be like, Jen Lou at the ward said this is how we're to act.
sorry, that's a different chapter. On page 61 at line 2763.
Of course, if I trained you right, you wouldn't say
Actually, let's
anything at
start at
all. You just ask for
2753.
your
Is that
lawyer.
right?
2753 on page 61.
Yes.
Okay.
She says the words to you, I didn't want to have sex at all. Is that right?
Correct.
And then you asked her, did he? To which she responded, I don't think so. Is that right?
Correct.
And then
Ooh,
you
that
asked,
is a
why
good
did he have the
question,
knife?
Allie.
And why? And to cut your pants?
I think
question
we're
mark,
about
which
to.
she says,
I mean,
think
I
he just
have
wanted
not
to look
heard
at-
any of
Agreed?
that, but it's
Correct.
And then you follow up.
possible.
Is that what he said or why? You said you think.
I'm going to hit
that
the
right?
Googles. Please hold.
Correct.
So you follow up on page 61 when she starts using the phrase, I think. You followed up with the, basically, why do you keep saying I think? Is that right?
For that question, yes.
Yeah, for that question, correct? You hadn't done it for all of her previous I thinks, but on that page you followed up with the, in broad strokes, why are you saying I think?
It fit that question, yes.
Okay, and so I know you said it then, and my second question now is, you didn't ask that follow-up question to any of her previous I think statements, did you?
No.
And when you ask a follow-up question about that I think statement, her response to you is, I don't know. Is that right?
Correct.
But you never asked follow-up, you don't know what she would have said if you'd asked follow-up questions to her previous I think statements, do you? Because that would be speculation, right?
Correct.
Okay. You just taking a step back from that particular interview, okay?
Okay.
But on the 23rd and the 24th, she both days gave you information leading up to this time gap that I think I've referenced before after Alex's house. Is that right?
That is correct.
And both of those days, she said basically, again, broad strokes, the same stuff, right?
I did not go and compare both stories side by side.
But again, broad strokes, basically the same thing, right?
For the most part. There are some things a little different, I'm sure, but I can't.
And as part of this case, you're like the lead investigator, right?
I was assisting Dunn County.
Okay. Have you heard from a lead investigator in the case thus far when we've been here in court?
I guess not.
Okay. And you're the officer that's been here in court the whole time, right?
That is correct.
No other law enforcement officer who's been involved in the case has been in here the whole time, right?
That is correct.
So fair to say, whether it's official or not, you're kind of the lead investigator, right?
If you want to say that, then sure.
Certainly the most involved, right?
I was involved, yes.
Okay. And what you've learned through that investigation and watching the trial is most of that, what she says happens on the morning of the 22nd, that's corroborated, right?
Yes.
And then you also asked her questions about what happened afterwards, both on the 23rd and the 24th. You asked her not as much, but you were asking her about Farmer Sipple's house, about what happened at the hospital. You were asking her some questions about that as well, right?
Correct.
And what you found out through your investigation is what she said about what happened afterwards at John Sipple's and with the police and at the hospital. That was, again, corroborated, right?
As far as, I guess you kind of lost me there on
Sure.
what you're wondering, or what you're asking, I should say.
We're all
asking if
lost.
in your investigation, you would agree what she told you on the 23rd and the 24th about what happened
Detective Proc, you're not the only
after she
one.
got to Don Sipple's house, whether your investigation corroborated what she said.
I think most of the
Corroborate.
facts were the same. And again, I never compared them side by side.
I understand that, sir. But that's part of your job as an investigator is you get information and you go and you check it out, right?
We follow all the evidence, yes. We follow the evidence where it takes us.
Correct. Because what one of the concerns is of course, you've heard of the term bias. Is that right?
Yes,
You were here in court, I think, when the judge even mentioned it in part of the first day is, explicit as well as implicit bias, right?
yes, I believe you
And
did.
I imagine you probably have some training that they do for just professionals to make sure that you're aware of implicit bias. Is that right?
We have bias-based policing training, yes.
Whether it's bias for, and again, I'm not implying that it's an event, it's an issue in this case, but you have training for bias
So then
regarding
why are
race,
you
right?
asking about it?
Correct,
You
You
have
have to
training for bias
connect
regarding
it.
gender bias, right?
correct.
And you've probably also even had training, or at least you're aware of the concept of confirmation bias.
Oh
Right?
my
Can you
gosh.
expand on that, please?
Sure. Let's see. Have you heard have you heard the phrase confirmation bias before?
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Okay. So confirmation bias is when a person looks for facts to validate a conclusion that he or she has already reached.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does.
Or they avoid or discredit evidence that challenges their preconceived idea. That's the other side of the coin on confirmation bias, right?
Okay,
I imagine you've had, even if you don't know the term, you're aware of the concept, you've had some
Yes.
talk about it, right?
yes,
And that's certainly, as you said, something you want to avoid as a law enforcement officer, right?
that is correct.
Probably
Oh
want to
my
avoid as a
gosh.
human being
Are
in
we
general,
in?
but
What
it
is
happens to all of us,
happening
right?
here, you guys?
Okay.
I mean, would you agree with that? That's just one of the reasons we know about it is it's a common concept that human beings sometimes have confirmation bias.
I don't know how common it is.
But whether it applies to all human beings in every employment opportunity or just in life, you would agree it's certainly something that should be avoided in law enforcement, right?
Objection asked and answered.
Repeatedly.
That was specifically asked.
Not overruled.
Yes, it should be avoided.
So as you had said, I think it was that you wanted to investigate all matters, all leads, right?
I followed the evidence that I had.
Mr. Nelson, I
And you
don't
had
think you're in
evidence
danger
that
at all
You
of getting
gave her that she should
called in
go
a Rule
to get this
37
crisis intervention
appeal.
at the,
Okay, calm down.
treatment places, right? At Bolton House, correct?
I'm kind of
On March 1st, you spoke with her.
correct.
And on March 1st, when you spoke with her, you
Ooh,
gave her
what's the
information
new
to say-
dateline
Objection
about?
asked and answered.
He's not following me. I'm trying to put it into context, Judge.
All right, overruled. Go ahead.
And on March 1st, you gave her that information about resources available to victims of assault.
I took her up to the victim witness area, yes.
And then you reviewed the evidence in this case where you saw all of the pamphlets that she had been provided before from Mr. Vang, right?
I didn't see those until later on in this case.
Okay. You certainly were aware through your investigation that she'd been talking about going to therapy, and that's why she was writing these journals, right?
I didn't know that until after these interviews and everything had taken place.
I understand that. Those interviews that take place were over 18 months ago, correct?
That is correct.
And so in those 18 months, since you've learned of that information, fair to say that you've never done any investigation whatsoever about whether she did get that treatment and counseling that you talked about.
Objection relevance.
Thank
Sustained.
you.
Can we approach, Judge?
I mean, sure, approach, but there's no relevance. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or anything, but it's not the detective's job to find out whether she got counseling or not.
We're speaking with Ms. McCandless on the 23rd and 24th. You'd also been getting other information about the case from other officers that were involved. Is that right?
Like, sorry, not sorry. It's
I guess
not at all.
Just in general, not while you were actually speaking, but prior to speaking with her, you were getting updates from other officers, right?
There were some updates, yes.
Yeah. And you came to learn that on the 22nd, when she was initially at Farmer Sipple's and had her initial contact with police, that she had used the name Monica Carlin. Is that right?
Yes.
And you also know from her statements that she told you, I believe it was both on the 23rd as well as on the 24th, where she talks about prior accidents in her car. Is that right?
That is correct.
And so did you do any investigation about those prior accidents that she had had in a car and how that may or may not have affected her ability to talk about that event?
No,
She had told you that it was a traumatic event, right? Maybe not using those terms, but fair to say that she told you about it was a big deal.
she didn't use the word traumatic. She did mention them.
Okay.
And she said she would remember them.
Okay. Did you do any follow-up with Ms. McCandless's mother about those accidents?
No,
Did you do any follow-up with Ms. McCandless's father, Joshane Carlin, about those accidents?
no,
Did you do any follow-up with Ms. McCandless's former boyfriend, Jason Mengel, regarding those accidents?
I think we talked once about some of the accidents, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay. Did you do any follow-up with any witness to determine if she had ever been in a previous situation where she'd used the word, identified herself as Monica Carlin after she had legally changed her name to Ezra
Objection,
McCandless?
relevance.
It goes to, again, just, I'm not
All right,
asking,
I'm going to let you ask a couple questions on that. Overrule the objection.
it's brief. I appreciate that, Judge. Do you understand the question?
Can you repeat it, please?
Sure. Did you do any investigation to determine if Ezra McCandless had ever previously identified herself as Monica Carlin after she had legally changed her name to Ezra McCandless?
No,
Did you do any investigation to determine if she'd ever been in a situation where she'd been disorientated or lacked a memory of a particular event?
Objection,
Hey, Lupe.
relevance.
It's good to see ya.
Just
I'm going to overrule, but
None
Go
of
ahead,
this,
answer.
I don't understand the relevance of any
I
of
don't know how I
this.
would do an investigation of that without being told about an incident.
So the answer, it sounds like, to my question is no, you didn't.
No.
Correct?
No, you didn't.
And
That's
your
literally
claim was
how
the
we
reason
said
you
it.
didn't is you were never told about it by anybody?
I just can't make something up out of the air.
I understand that, but Jason Mengel told you about it.
Tell me about what?
A time in which she had been in an accident before and didn't remember her name and called herself Monica Carlin.
Okay, I think you did, yes.
Okay, so your answer that you didn't do it because you didn't know about it, maybe you didn't have a memory about it, but you did know about it, right?
At some point, he might have mentioned it, yes.
So you did know about it, agreed?
Agreed.
And when you found out about it, you didn't do any investigation at all about that, did you?
What would there to
No.
be to investigate?
Just very briefly, Exhibit 691, that was the iPod extraction regarding the note from March 2nd,
Oh,
2018. You recall that?
Kezchick, I'm
Yes.
sorry, babe.
That is, again,
Well, if
a
you've got to
note
go,
that was
go
found
make
on
Mimi's.
Ms.
It's no
McCandless's
problem.
iPod, is that right?
Glad
Correct.
you could make it.
You would agree that you have no way of.
We're going to have
there's no
to, oh, hold on a
information as to
minute. Let
whether
me
that note
push
was ever
pause because
sent
this
to
guy's
anybody.
already
Agreed?
annoying me.
Agreed.
Just before you go, hey, I've learned a lot. I just want to let you know because you weren't here at the very beginning. Tomorrow night at 10 Eastern, Molson Man is going to be on allegedly with Brittany J's channel. And oh, you're not going? I guess I missed this. I guess I missed something. Okay, never mind. I messed up. Okay, let's just go back. This line of questioning has got me like, what? Sorry.
You have no information as to whether that note was ever received by anybody. Agreed?
Agreed.
And whether anybody thinks it's to Jason or to Alex or to John or to some other person, you didn't do any
Hey,
follow-up
Lachette Noir.
investigation with any of those, John or Jason, to see if that note was received by them. Agreed?
Agreed.
Same in the note from March 2nd was about Ms. McCandless asking somebody that they stop discussing her case, correct?
Correct.
And in there, there's also something, or what happened with Alex, is that right?
That is correct.
And we know from being in here in court that there's two different Alexes, right?
Yes,
There's an Alex Zink and an Alex Woodworth, right?
correct.
And if, I'm not saying it was, we don't know, but if Alex Zink used to live with Jason Mengel, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And so whether if this were a note with an intention to be to Jason, you don't know whether it was to mentioning his roommate Alex or Alex Woodworth. Agreed?
And there is no last name.
Correct. Because you didn't follow up on that in any way with Mr. Zink either, did you?
I don't think he would know if it was about him.
Well, you could ask him if there was any incident in around March 2nd, 2018, or the day before, in which there's a reason he'd be mentioned in a note, correct?
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, you do what sometimes investigators do. They go and talk to people, right?
Possibly, yeah.
And then on exhibit 692, that's the note from March 20th of 2018. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And again, you're not aware of any evidence as to electronically or otherwise as to whether this note was ever sent to anybody, right?
Correct.
And again, you're not aware of any evidence as to whether this was ever received by anybody, correct?
Correct.
Or read or shown in some way that wouldn't be electronic, but just even on the face of a phone, agreed?
Correct.
Or a face of an iPod, agreed?
Agreed.
Those are the only questions, thank you.
Any regrets?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I want to start, I think, with some of the questions that related to the investigation and your work. First off, whose investigation was this, Dunn County's or the city of Eau Claire's?
Dunn Counties.
And were other investigators from both Dunn County and Eau Claire County doing things over and above what you were doing?
Yes, they were.
Did you do everything on this investigation?
No one person could do everything on this investigation.
So you weren't the only investigator involved in this?
That is correct.
Were many of the things that council asked about followed up by other investigators?
Yes, they were.
Vague. He wants to ask about specific things, but to just say many of the things I think is too vague.
Overruled.
And there were some questions about.
Excellent
exhibit,
redirect, if I
think
may
it's,
say so.
691, maybe, the one with the journal entry or note, I should say.
The note from March 2nd?
Yes.
Yes,
Are
691.
you aware of anything through your review of the investigation in this case that happened between the defendant and Alex Zink?
His name has never come up other than a roommate.
Do you still have exhibits 176 and 290 there? Those are the two transcripts.
Yes, I do.
All right. So turn to page 3 of exhibit 176 for a moment. Council asked you some questions about line 121, where the defendant makes the statement that she needed to return some stuff that makes her sad. Do you recall those questions?
Yes.
All right. And could you take now exhibit 290? Turn to page 3 of exhibit 290.
Okay.
And can you go to, starting at line 115, can you read through actually starting at line 113 and then read through line 125 out loud, please?
Sure. 113.
Yes.
I ask, what kind of stuff were you bringing? Ezra responds, a heating pad. I say, okay. Ezra says, and I had like a few just like small things, like a bookmark and stuff like that. And then 122, I say, okay, who was the heating pad for? And Ezra responds, for Alex, because he gave it to me a while ago. I just didn't want it anymore because I didn't need it.
So in that interview, she says she didn't need it versus it made her sad. Correct?
Correct.
Do you still have exhibit 465 up there?
Which one is that? I'm sorry.
That is the Instagram contacts?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Oh, no, I do not. Sorry.
You may.
I agree with that.
Detective Proc, reviewing exhibit 465, what's the date?
But they're not
of those
doing a good
Instagram
job of
posts?
that, honestly.
It appears all of them were March 12th 2018.
Aw,
All right. And is there a specific reference to what
thank you, Heather,
item,
whatever.
the defendant is wanting to return to Alex as it relates to those Instagram posts?
Just give me a
Thank
second
you,
to make sure I have
Tony.
it
I'm
correctly,
glad
please.
you guys are comfortable to chat here. I know how
I
it can
believe
be.
it is going to be,
I
the
get it.
book,
And
The
I'm
Little
glad you guys
Prince.
have a place
Are
that
you
you can
aware if
chat.
that book was returned to Alex at any particular location through your investigation into this matter?
I believe it was returned to him at Racy's.
Now, counsel also asked you if during the interview of March 23rd, the first interview you did with the defendant in regard to the matter that we're here for today, if what she told you happened before she met Alex, if that was all corroborated by your investigation. Do you recall
I
that
have
question?
to laugh every
Yes.
time he says
Uh,
corroborate.
And was all of the
I'm so
information that
glad
she
you
gave you on
guys
March
like it
23rd
here.
as to
I
what she
really,
did
and
before
yes, Lupe,
she
thank
met
you so
Alex
much.
actually
I
corroborated
really,
by
I'm glad.
the
That's what I'd
physical
like
facts
for
in
it to
the
be.
surveillance video?
Can you kind of rephrase that
Well,
question?
maybe if I ask it a little different way.
Yeah, good, because I
probably a
talked
bad
over
question.
you. Sorry about
In
that.
the interview on March 23rd, where did she tell you she went first when she got to Eau Claire from Stanley?
She went down to Racy's.
Was that statement by the defendant that she went to Racy's first corroborated by the surveillance videos from Milestone?
No,
What do the surveillance videos from Milestone show about where the defendant went first on March 22nd?
it shows that she went to the area of Alex's house.
And was that information corroborated by any other information that you obtained as part of this investigation? That she went to Alex's house before she went to Racy's?
Well, I believe the roommate, Dave, mentioned that she was over there earlier. She was there twice.
Now, the defendant, in her statements to you and in various other locations, said that one of the things that she was trying to do or was doing on March 22nd is she wanted to give Alex Woodworth the journals. Do you recall that?
Correct.
As part of the investigation was Alex Woodworth's residence, his room, his apartment, the house he lived in, was it searched?
I believe it was searched by Dunn County officials, yes.
Thank you,
And are you
Sam.
aware if they recovered
You guys should
either
listen to
journal,
Sam. She knows
what's
things. Just
titled
saying.
Silence Broken
Hey,
or Journal
Mo.
1 or the other document titled Journal 2 among Alex Woodworth's belongings?
They never found that.
Was a copy of either of those journals found in the defendant's car in the course of the search?
No,
Did you look through all of Alex Woodworth's electronic devices?
yes,
Was either journal found among the items in in any of his electronic devices in an electronic format?
I did not see it.
Where was the yellow cup?
There was a question about in the interview of March 1st of 2018 that the defendant made a statement about something hurt as it related to the relationship with Alex Woodworth. Do you recall that?
I do.
Did she ever make it clear in that it was a physical versus an
Oh,
emotional hurt?
nonstop, Mom. I do it too,
I don't
babe.
remember.
Don't you worry about it.
In the interview on March 23rd, did the defendant ever tell you that Alex physically harmed her or assaulted her?
Objection, vague.
Are you talking about her phone or his phone? Because Alex's phone was located.
Prior time or all time?
On March 20, I
He did say March
accept that,
23rd.
Your Honor. I'll
No, you did
re-ask
say,
the question.
that was asked in the question, March 23rd.
In the interview of March 23rd, did the defendant ever say that Alex Woodworth on the interview of March 23rd, did she ever say that on March 22nd, Alex Woodworth physically assaulted her?
I don't believe she did.
Yeah, approach, Your Honor.
Yeah, where's the yellow cup and the blue hat? We need those.
Application is Exhibit 426, which appears to be a transcript of the interview between yourself and the defendant on March 1st. Is that correct?
That does appear to be.
I want you to take a look on page 19
Oh
of
dear.
that. And I just want you to review page 19, and then I want to ask if that refreshes your recollection as to whether or not she described it as a physical, emotional hurt, or she didn't really say.
Okay.
Can you approach a second? Right.
Does that refresh your recollection as to whether or not she tells you if it's a physical or an emotional hurt?
She doesn't say either.
And during that interview, she talked many times about emotional hurts, didn't she?
I believe so, yes.
Exactly, Heather, whatever.
Counsel had asked you and tried to and asked you a yes or no if the defendant was advised that she had to talk to you on March 23rd. Do you recall that?
Yes,
And you said you can't answer that yes or no. Do you recall that?
yes.
Why is that?
That's based on the place she was located. They have a policy that if
Objection, hearsay.
Well, Your Honor, it's going to explain
Doesn't matter. It's
What?
still hearsay.
Well, frankly, Mr. Nelson, you opened the door, so I'm allowed to stay.
I
to
wish
go
I
into
could
that.
answer this
don't,
question for you, Heather,
I'm not gonna
whatever, but I
elaborate. You
looked
can
at
do
my
Aside, or
laptop
some other
and I
point,
had the
but I'm
charger
allowed
in
to
it and
state
it's
to
not
go into
even
that.
charging. And I'm like, what's happening?
continue.
Well,
where she was at, if
the
the
part
patient
that
doesn't want to
plugs
talk
into
to
the wall
someone,
that
they're not
attaches
gonna
to
let you
the
talk
other
to them.
part was
So
not
for me to be able
plugged.
to talk to Ezra, I had to go through.
You know, that
the
box
nursing
or
staff
whatever.
To get.
So I was
they would go ask
adjusting that
Ezra
and
if
I
Ezra would
didn't
wanna
see.
talk to
I'm
me.
sorry.
And if she did, then I got to talk to her. If she didn't, I wasn't going to be able to talk to her. So that's how that took place. So
Now, counsel asked if the defendant cooperated with you on March 23rd in your interview. Do you recall that?
yes,
You on March 23rd?
I guess it depends on what you're talking about with cooperate.
Well, did she tell you, let me ask this, did she tell you anything about what happened after she left Alex's apartment?
No.
Right. On March 24th, prior to your telling her that you found the car,
I had forgotten
did she
that
tell
she
you
went
anything about what
to
happened after she
Alex's
left
twice.
Alex's apartment on March 22nd?
This was
No.
a good, I'm glad that this was brought up again.
After
Because
you
if I
told her
forgot,
that
the
you-
jury
you
probably
had found the
forgot
car,
too.
was she able to give you significant details of what happened, according to her, after she left Alex's apartment on March 22nd?
Yes,
So based on that, Detective, would you say that she completely cooperated with you on March 23rd?
Yes, Amelia. See, I had forgotten that too, because it was a little bit difficult to extract that testimony from Alex's roommate because the cross-examination was somewhat contentious, remember? And they kept referring to the first time and the second time, but it was hard to it's kind of hard to follow because there were so many objections and yada yada yada. But I had totally forgotten about that. She went to his house, then she went to Racy's. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, after I listened to this cross-examination and then also some of his direct, remembering back on it, excuse me, I thought that that Max said that she picked him up. So when did Ezra and Max go to Jason's to do the art swap? Because I thought that happened all on the 22nd, because there's the reference to the letters that Ezra had written to different people, letters that they can't talk about because the person to whom I think the letters are written to is not a witness. So they wouldn't be able to unless they specifically spoke about the crime, then obviously, but because they don't, and they're at this point anyway, it had to have happened all on the same date. It had to have. Let's keep going.
3rd, 2018.
No.
I want to talk about.
Thank
a few
you, Momo.
things, that
We're doing that
council
tomorrow.
asked you for, when she said, answered things like, I think, and I don't remember, okay?
Okay.
Let's start on page 40. Council referred you to line 1781.
Is this an exhibit 290?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is exhibit 290.
Y'all behave, because
Page
Chick's
40.
watching us. Just keeping her eye on you. Not
This is on
me,
page 40,
obviously.
Line 1781.
I don't need
Actually, this one isn't
supervision.
about, I think, but
But y'all,
council says,
mm,
his question was, the defendant said, it was just really painful. Is that actually what was said there?
On line 781,
Yes, 1781.
1781, it's just really painful.
It's just really
It's-
painful.
IT apostrophe yes, just really painful.
Not it was,
It's IT apostrophe yes.
which is short for it is.
Correct.
correct.
Let's turn to page 45.
If she meant it
We're
was,
at line 2028. You there?
I
Yes, sir. All right.
do need
First
to
off,
sit
why
her
don't you read
so
the question
long.
before and then
I
read the
do.
whole answer, not just the I don't know.
But
Okay.
just by the way,
It starts at
if it was,
2024.
it
and I
was,
ask, okay.
that
Anything and
contraction,
everywhere is
it's
where you were
was.
stabbing him. So was he on top of you? So you have it here. Do you know if you stabbed him in the back or any place? And in line 2028, she responds, I don't know if I had it facing up or down.
Yeah, let's turn to page 47. Line 2119. Council, the question that you had asked and council asked about this is, how did you get back inside the car, Ezra? And council had just read the part that says, I don't know. Can you read the rest of that answer?
Sure, it's line 2119, and Ezra responds, I don't know. When I left and I ran, he was outside.
So her story is that she was gone when he got back in the car.
That is her story, yes.
Let's continue on that page. Council asked you about a number of questions as to where she says, I think. Can you read what the question is at 2021 that starts out all of those answers that says, I think?
Sure. It starts out, okay, and then it's inaudible. When he was stabbed, where do you think you stabbed him?
So your question is, where do you think you stabbed him?
Correct.
Let's turn to page 61. And on page 61, there was, when we look at line 2759, you ask him what? Or ask the defendant what?
2759, I asked, why did he have the knife and why? And to cut your pants?
And then what's her answer?
I think he just wanted to look at me.
All right. And then you follow up on that. I just think, why did you follow up on that answer that says, I think, and not the other ones?
Well, the other ones, I asked her what she thought was where she stabbed Alex. And in this one, she responds to my question with, I think, in kind of a doubting fashion, not knowing for sure. So I wanted clarification if she truly knew this or if this was just a thought.
In other words, you want to know if Alex had said something like that or somehow expressed that that's what he wanted, or if it was just what her belief was?
That is correct.
All right. Now, counsel had asked you about, that you didn't talk to her immediately or tell her immediately the information that you had that the car had been found and Alex was found and he was dead. You recall that?
Yes, I do.
All right. Why didn't you bring that up with her right away?
I just wanted to see, without prompting her memory, to see if she got anything back, if she could remember anything else that took place.
Did you give her a chance to tell you what she knew?
Yes,
Did you give her a chance to tell you what she knew before you brought up the fact that you knew where the car was?
yes.
Did you give her a lot of chances to do that?
I couldn't put a number on it, but I believe there was numerous times that I gave her a chance.
And until you did that, was she forthcoming in telling you what happened
Objection
on
is
March
to,
22nd?
sorry, objection is to the use of the word forthcoming. He can ask her what she said or didn't say, but I think forthcoming is.
All right, I'm going to sustain it. It gets too close to this witness giving an opinion.
Thank you. Prior to your bringing that up, did she tell you anything about what happened on March 22nd after she left Alex's?
No,
At any point in time, when she finally began to tell you about what happened on March 22nd, did she tell you that the reason that she didn't talk to you about what happened is that she did not remember what happened?
no,
I don't have any other redirect, Your Honor.
Great, Mr. Nelson, recross.
Yes, please. Mr. Prock, I want to ask you about March 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, those 3 days, okay?
okay,
Again, just kind of a preview here is on about Ms. McCandless's statements, essentially of, I don't remember. Make sense?
okay,
Fair to say, she said that on the 22nd, agreed?
that she said that she didn't remember?
Correct.
Correct,
Fair to say that she said that on the 23rd, correct?
correct,
And then fair to say she started to say that on the 24th, but eventually told you stuff, right?
correct,
And when she talked to you on the 24th, you asked, why didn't you tell us before? And she says, because it was too scary. Agreed?
I believe there was more than that in that statement. Is that all right if I try to find it?
Fine. I don't have the transcript. I'm losing that page, but it's page 55, line 2494. I think she tells you because it was too scary. Is that the line?
That is because I didn't. I asked her, how come you didn't tell me this yesterday when we talked, Ezra? Her response was because I didn't. It's too scary.
Okay. So you almost made the same mistake I did, using the words it's and it was, right?
No, it was is the words right before. It's too scary.
Okay. So she used both in that one. It was and it is too scary, basically, right?
That is what it says in here.
And when she made that statement on the 24th, she was talking to you in response to her statements on the 23rd, correct?
I guess you've lost me there. And
I don't have it in front of me.
no, I'm just trying to, can you clarify your
You asked
question?
the question, yes, why didn't you tell this to us yesterday? Agreed?
Yes, and it's in response to everything that took place at the vehicle.
But you're on the 24th.
Yep.
You're asking her a question about why she didn't say things on the 23rd.
Correct.
Agreed?
Why she didn't tell us this on the 23rd.
Correct. And her response as to why she didn't say it on the 23rd, if you follow the logic of, if there's logic in it, is that it would be on the 23rd, it was too scary, right?
It's because I didn't. It's too scary.
Correct. But that's in reference to why she didn't say it on the 23rd. That's my point.
Okay,
Do you agree with that?
correct.
Following that line of conversation tracking?
Now, yes,
Okay. And in fact, I think she later on page 61, on lines 2771.
sorry.
And I'll just start it at the word everything, but it seems like she's talking about kind of what's going on in her head about what happened. Is that right? And she says, everything was just so scary and I don't know what to do about it. I don't. It's just so scary and I can't get anything out of my mind. That's what she says on those lines, correct?
Yes,
All right. So and again, I know you're not an expert and I'm not trying to open that, but it may be that sometimes she didn't remember and it may be that sometimes she didn't want to talk about it because she was too scared. It depends on the day, right? Based on the information that you have right here, right now.
I don't know why she didn't want to talk about it. All I can say is one day she said she didn't remember. The next day she said it was too scary.
You were asked some questions about this hurt, all right? And I don't want to belabor the point too much about Alex and hurt. But you on March 1st asked her some questions about who she was having sex with. She said Alex, and she said it hurt. Agreed?
There was, I don't remember exactly how that conversation went, but there was something along those lines, yes.
Okay.
So her dad was the one that she was living with at the time, and I believe he was informed first.
Which
And then I don't know about her mom, honestly.
Okay.
Again, just because I don't want to, on page 19 of DO, well, not yet offered or received Exhibit 426, reference to DOJ 4293.
Yep.
This is that little transcript of the little clip that we played. Is that right? Does it just refresh your memory to see that?
Okay.
Oh, I'll grab it for you,
You
Heather.
asked
Give me
her-
just a
you-
sec.
yeah, just to put it in context, you'd asked her who she had sex with. She said Alex, and then something along the lines of, and it hurt.
And it's inaudible and it hurt inaudible.
Correct.
Okay.
You agree?
That is what it says.
And on the 23rd, she actually did say she was afraid of being hurt by Alex. That was the page 14 that we put up on the screen before.
Page 4. I apologize. I just have to keep jumping back.
It's all right. Exhibit 176, page 14.
I guess, Your Honor, I'm going to object. That's beyond the scope of my,
I believe he asked if she ever told, it was asked on redirect.
my question
Asked
on,
on redirect if she ever told Mr. Prock on the 23rd about Alex hurting her. So I'm following up on that.
now I asked if he, well, have the question
Right.
answered, don't have any.
Oh,
Again, I don't
Sam
remember
got it.
exactly,
Thank
so
you,
I'm going
Sam.
to overly objection, but Mr. Nelson,
Very brief.
please, thank you.
In that section where she said,
And
Yeah, I
yes, it's
understand
at
it's-
10 Eastern.
you asked her, what were you scared of? She said being hurt. You asked by who, and she said Alex. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right. I'd asked you some questions about corroborating what she'd done, her statements about what she did on the 22nd, correct?
Yes.
In the morning of the 22nd, right?
Yes.
And the one difference that was pointed out to you on redirect is that one time she said she was returning things because she was sad, and another time she was returning things because she didn't need it. That's the discrepancy that the state pointed out. Agreed?
That was one of them. Yes.
You're welcome, babe.
And the other discrepancy that was pointed out was that she said she went to Alex's.
It's okay,
but she didn't say
Molson
that she'd
man.
been there previously. Agreed?
It's not a big
Well, it
deal.
was the
Don't
first
you
time she went
worry
to
about
Reese's.
it.
But the cameras show that she went to Alex.
I
the
mean,
area
if
of
you're going to
Alex's.
mention that,
Right. I'm sure
like
she did
obviously I don't
mention
want
lots of things
other
that she did on the
creators
morning of the
being
22nd,
dogged in a
correct?
chat, but that's
She didn't say she went
different,
to the
you know.
bathroom. She didn't say she ate breakfast. She didn't say all kinds of small details about non-events. Agreed?
How
I can't
far
say
ahead
that's
of
a
me
small
are
detail
you,
not to mention.
That's
Sam?
not for you to decide. That's for the jury. to
Because right
decide,
now
I
for
understand.
me, it
But
is
she did mention other
11:03
small details
a.m.
Of non-events.
I
I'm
mean
gonna
PM,
object to our
sorry.
argument
I
on
don't know
this.
what time
I'll
it
sustain
is.
and argumentative.
Thank you
Fair to
guys
say
for
she didn't
giving
tell you
her
other
a
things
a
that
sub. I
didn't result
appreciate
in
it
any
very
contact with
much.
another human being. Agreed?
Agreed.
But she didn't deny that she went to Alex's house and why she was going there. Agreed?
She said she went to Alex's house. Yes.
Yeah. So you agree with my question. She didn't deny that she was going over to Alex's house and why. Agreed?
Agreed.
In the journal, while it wasn't found at Alex's or in the car, the journal was in an electronic format, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you found it on the Google account, correct?
Correct.
And that would make it accessible on an iPod, correct?
I don't know.
Okay. If an iPod had wireless connection to a Google account, you found it in the Google account, correct?
It was located in the Google account. I don't think I found it. I believe
So
one of the
yes,
Dunn
Sam,
County-
it would be
deputies found
1
Broad
o'clock
strokes,
a.m. for
Law
you, babe.
enforcement found it in the Google account, right?
That I can agree to.
So you have nothing to dispute that it could have been shown to him on the screen of an iPod. Agreed?
I can't say that it wasn't shown on an iPod.
Okay. And you certainly agree that in the year 2018, sometimes things are shared in a digital format. Sometimes they're shared in a hard copy format. Sometimes a person just shows another person a screen that they have with them. Agreed?
Hey,
Yes.
Yvonne.
You'd also talked
Welcome.
about these texts from, I think it was exhibit 45, 465,
465?
465. And what you'd realize from those texts is as far back as March 12th, she'd been talking to other people about going and returning stuff to Alex, right?
Correct.
So she talked about this like almost 10 days before that, right?
Yes.
Certainly didn't seem to be a
Objection.
secret that that's what she was going to go do, right?
Are you trying to prove
couldn't tell you if it was a secret or not.
premeditation?
We just know that she told other
If
people
that's
10
what
days
you're
before,
doing.
correct?
She told Jason 10 days before,
She told Max on that same day on the 22nd, agreed?
on the 22nd.
You were asked questions in which the state used the phrase, her story is he was outside of the car when she left. Is that right?
I don't remember the exact words used.
He used the word story, correct?
I don't know for sure if
But
that's,
it was in reference to where Alex's body was.
I believe that was off of this transcript. Okay.
I'm not asking about the transcript. I'm
Nope.
asking about the question that you were asked,
Okay.
right?
He asked a question about where the body was, I believe.
Correct. Yep. Since that time, it's been 18 months, correct?
Yes,
You've had a chance to investigate the case, right?
parts of it, yes.
And you've been here in court, right?
Yes,
You heard Dr. Mills testify, right?
yes,
You heard Dr. Mills testify that after somebody received those injuries, they may have been able to still walk, agreed?
I believe she said that, yes.
And talk, agreed?
I believe she said that, yes.
Nothing else.
Okay.
Well, okay. So we have some more questions. We did get some of our questions answered, except for. Oh no, Heather, whatever. Let me just say this. I don't mind if other channels are mentioned in the chat. I don't mind if other creators are mentioned in the chat. The only thing that I ever would be I would object to is that if another channel or another creator was mentioned like in a negative way. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to badmouth or something, but that's it. I'm not like that. I don't mind other channels being mentioned because I watch other channels. I go and listen because I like to learn things. You know what I mean? And sometimes I like to go listen and watch other channels and other creators cover crime cases that I'm interested in, but I don't want to cover myself. You know what I mean? So yeah, I never get upset about that. Exactly. Molson man. I mean, we don't only speak positive because we've been dogging Ezra for the last month because we've been listening. Feels like a month. I think it's only been a few weeks though. But yeah, it feels like forever. So we had some questions of ours answered. However, we didn't have other questions answered. We still do not know the whereabouts of the yellow cup or the blue hat. I do think it's interesting that I had totally forgotten that Ezra had been over to Alex's house twice. That is interesting. Okay. So the other one we're going to look at is not tonight, but for tomorrow. I'll find it. Okay, so the other one is an hour and 17 minutes. So I want to be able to talk. Alex had 2 roommates. One roommate. and he testified way back at the very beginning of the trial. It's on, give me just 1 second. It is on Mo's channel. And there's the link for that. But it was kind of difficult to understand and follow his testimony, not so much his direct testimony, but his cross-examination. Yes, nonstop mom, that's who it was. And then did, and then didn't. It was difficult because it was a contentious cross-examination, and they the defense was attempting to get clarity, but I wasn't clear. And I think you're right. I've learned a lot. It was too. There we go. I think you're right. I think it was too. And I think Mo's also right. I think we did see pictures of it. We just want to know where the yellow cup is at this point. So, and I remember him testifying to that, nonstop mom, now that the detective has taken the stand. But before, I mean, I had forgotten about that, which I probably, if I was an actual juror, I probably would have written that down. But then the other thing I think that's important is the officer who testified about the drone footage and the street cameras, or just cameras in general, and how they followed her, basically using those, street cameras. So I had totally forgotten about that. And I mean, I understand that the defense is attempting to say that what Ezra told the investigator on the 23rd and 24th was not a lie. It was an inability to remember due to a traumatic event. And I understand that. But I guess at this point, because he's only trying to establish it through cross-examination, it's a little difficult for me to connect the dots. But I think that I know he's going to put a forensic psychiatrist. Let me make sure that I got that right. He's either a psychiatrist or a psychologist. But either way, I know that the defense is going to put that person on the stand. So we'll see what his assessment is. Yeah, that's it. And then wow. So tomorrow night, remember that I hope he does too, Heather, whatever. He needs to pull it all together because this is a lot. And that, there's a lot of missing pieces. And the fact that he mentioned during recross that Ezra had mentioned several times that she wanted to go to Alex's house and return items. It's a fine line between, talking about something, you know what I'm saying? But it looks like planning. And that's what it looks like. Because I don't like to use like the term premeditated, because premeditated, we've talked about this before. It means something different in legal terms. You know what I mean? The time is different. So I'd rather just say planning. But the fact is that he's walking a very fine line bringing that up, because it does make you think that there was planning to this. And the charge is first-degree murder. So that's a very dangerous line to walk. But before I go, I want to remind everybody that I'm going to start early tomorrow because I want to make sure that we are all done and everything so that we can go over to allegedly with Brittany J and support Molson Man tomorrow at 10 Eastern. So I think the testimony is like an hour and 17 minutes. So I think going an hour earlier should be good. So instead of going live at 9 Eastern, I'm going to go live at 8 Eastern. So as always, I want to thank you guys all for being here. I have enjoyed our chat tonight. It was excellent. There was a lot of excellent points. There was humor, which I love, as you guys know. And you put up with my Star Wars talk, which I appreciate immensely. But yeah, that's what we're going to do tomorrow. So that is the plan. Perfect, Mo. That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. So that's what we'll play. And then Thursday night, we'll go over the all the forensics. And then Friday's Ezra. Of course, I'm going to promote it, Molson Man, but you're very welcome. You're always so supportive and to me, and I want to support you. So I'm going to let you guys go for the night. I really appreciate you guys all being here. It was a great chat. This was an awesome night tonight. And I should do that, Yvonne. I might have to bring back Darth Cat. I haven't used that in a minute, and I probably should. I don't know, Kez Chick. I don't know. Yep, I want you to be here for Ezra. Friday night, you guys. So don't forget, we're going to start with Ezra now, and hers is 8 parts. So we're going to be listening to Ezra for quite a while. All right. And with that, I'm going to leave you guys. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great tomorrow. And if that's too much pressure, just have whatever kind of night and tomorrow you're going to have. And I'll see you then. All right. Good night. Bye.